Okay, folks, this should be in your wheelhouse by now. We've done a lot of this. We started with the tiles, and then we ditched the tiles just to say, okay, we get it. I've got 5 of these y-squared things here, and I'm looking around for any more. And we did it with shapes at first just so we could say, oh, I see that this is a different shape than something else. But that's a different shape too. A y-squared, there's no more y-squareds. Let's just call that a different shape. I've got 5 of them. I got 2 more. I've got a total of 7 y-squareds. While we're at it, let's look at the x-squareds. Well, there's the only one that I see, and you might want to consider crossing out the ones you've already accounted for. That's the only one. It's a -1. I would go ahead and call it a -1 y or x squared. And if you don't put the 1, that's okay. But there's no more x squared, so we're done with that. I've got -3y, and I've got a -8y. You add those together to get a -11y. Because they're both negative, you're going to add them together. They're both bad guys for a total of 11 bad guys. And lastly, the only thing we haven't accounted for is that +9. So that's our final answer. It doesn't look like an answer. It looks like a whole different problem. But it is, and it's accurate. Same thing, you know, a new set of problems. Although there's no squareds here, you might notice. First thing we look at is an xy, and if you look over here, remind yourself that's a -1. Okay, so I have 3xy minus 1xy. There's your 2xy. And you know, whatever's next, cancel those. Now I've got a 4y, and I've got a positive y, easy to overlook without a number in front of it. 4y plus another y, that is a total of 5y. We're done with the y's. And now we have a -1x and -5x. Well, again, we're just keeping track of how many we are in what direction. They're both negative, so that's going to increase our negative to a -6x. Bada bing. And then the last thing we have is a 2 and a -7. We're subtracting 7 from 2. We have a -5, and that's it. Okay? So we've gone through those, no parentheses. When you see the parentheses now, there's a whole new set of circumstances. Okay? Parentheses means you have to consider there might be something we're distributing, and in both cases we're distributing this negative that's out in front. So I'm changing that to a plus, I'm changing that to a minus, and that to a minus, and now I'm going to focus my attention on what are my like terms? Well, the 3 and the -7. Okay, if that's the first thing you did, great. Others might say, well, I like to start with the x first, and that's probably more appropriate. You have a -5x, and then you're going to add that to your -7. Well, bad guys win again. There's -7, there's +3. You're going to end up with 4 more negatives than you have positive. 3 minus 7 is a -4. -7 plus 3 is a -4 either way. That's your final answer. And this is going to be similar. You just got to distribute that negative to more, and there's some negative stuff in there. Change that to a plus. That negative becomes a plus. That plus becomes a minus, and that minus becomes a plus. So far, all we did was kind of get it set up to now solve. So that -1 and that +7 gives you a 6x squared. You have a 3x and a -1x. That's a +2x. And your -5 and your +4 give you a -1. Final answer.